These are this afternoon's top stories. Prime Minister Harris says considerable progress has been made in reducing serious crimes. Women busted for cocaine smuggling, and French ramping up airstrikes on ISIS targets in Syria and Iraq. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Friday, 20th November 2015. I'm Cal Barrage. In national news, Minister of National Security Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris told the nation on Tuesday that considerable progress had been made to reduce serious crimes in St. Kitts and Nevis.
That for the month of October 2015, overall serious crimes were down 16 by 0.7%. And for the period January to October 2015, serious crimes comprising of the broad categories of offenses such as offenses against the person, offenses against morality, offenses against property, and offenses against unlawful authority, those serious crimes were down 20.1% relative to the comparative period 2014.
Notwithstanding, the National Security Minister remains concerned about the number of homicides and gun-related incidents.
That although homicides are unacceptably high since the launch of our 6-point plan, the homicides rate dropped from an average of about 3 homicides per month to now 1. We certainly would wish to bring this to zero.
The Ministries of Tourism and Education, Her Majesty's Customs and Excise Department, the St. Kitts and Nevis Defence Force, the clergy, and the government's Department of Social Services were among the agencies that joined the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force at the Marriott Resort for Thursday's workshop that looked at criminal justice issues in the Federation. During an interview with ZIZ News, Assistant Commissioner of Police Ian Creeley shared the expected outcome.
We are intending to devise strategies based on the outcomes and the input from this interaction that can propel our crime fighting initiatives forward and put us in a better place in terms of suppressing, detecting, and reducing the fear of crime within our federation.
The workshop, dubbed Law Enforcement Practices and Legal Community Best Practices, was coordinated by the local police force and Monroe College. Exactly 1 week after a ceremony to officially launch the 44th edition of St. Kitts and Nevis's National Carnival, also known as Sugar Mass, the Carnival Committee will be hosting another major event. Carnival Chairman Noah Mills has confirmed that the launch of this year's contestants will commence at 7 p.m. at the Berkeley Memorial, also known as the Circus. Tonight's event will feature remarks by Chairperson of the Launch Activities Committee, Marissa Hobson-Newman, Chairman Mills, and Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Culture, Christopher Herbert. The ceremony will be punctuated by sponsor selection and a bull exhibition and competition, and wrap up with a soca tent. Tonight's soca tent will feature performances by more than 15 artists who will be musically backed by Three Lugs Band. On to news on the regional scene. In Guyana, 2 St. Lucian women have been arrested for smuggling cocaine. More in this report.
2 St. Lucians were today sentenced to prison and fine on drug trafficking charges. The women, 38-year-old Chimisha Wheeler and 43-year-old babysitter Andrea Willie, pleaded guilty to separate charges of being in possession of cocaine. Wheeler had in her possession 38 grams, while Willie was caught with 298 grams of the illicit substance. The women were transporting the cocaine in their vaginas in the form of dildos. The 2 women appeared in the Georgetown Magistrate Court before Magistrate Judy Latchman and was sentenced to 48 months and 50 months respectively. In addition to the sentence, Wheeler was fined $79,200 Guyana dollars, while Willie was fined $268,200 Guyana dollars. The women, who were outgoing passengers to St. Lucia, were caught with the drugs at the Chelijagan International Airport early this week. When the sentence was handed down by the magistrate, Willie broke down in tears and told the court it was the devil that took her over and she was unaware what happened. She said the drugs was to be delivered to a gentleman. Wheeler remained calm when she received her jail sentence. Reporting for Capital News, Royston Drakes.
The St. Lucia Manufacturers Association and the St. Lucia Bureau of Standards have teamed up to help local businesses improve their growth prospects by turning their small local companies into global brands. Don Nicholas explains.
The training program sought to prepare food manufacturers on the island to be ever conscious of the importance of certification and standards. This in turn will prepare them to export their products.
What we are doing is preparing our food manufacturers to be very conscious of the importance of certification and standards. So we are doing some HACCP training, which is a hazard and food safety, which is internationally recognized, and this is preparing them to get ready to export.
The overall objective is to have all food manufacturers in St. Lucia certified. Officials say there are lots of opportunities there for the taking, but according to them, it would be impossible to grab hold of such opportunities without certification.
It gives you an opportunity to make sure that what you're producing is in a safe and healthy environment without any bacteria, any enzymes, any health hazard to the nation as well as to your exporters. And it is important for us to do that because it is recognized worldwide, HACCP. So once you're into food, you should have some certification. And for us, we are striving for the top because we would like every manufacturer to be exporting.
The workshop lasted for 2 days. For the DBS News World, I am Don Nicholas.
And internationally, U.S. Defense Secretary Ash Carter has revealed the U.S. is prepared to relax the rules of engagement against ISIS.
The more than 8,000 U.S.-led airstrikes launched in Syria and Iraq have been under those strict rules of engagement. But what would possibly loosening those rules mean? Tonight, in a location here in Iraq we were asked not to reveal, we had a rare meeting with American military personnel coordinating those strikes. The aim is for zero collateral damage, meaning civilians or friendly forces. But in the past week, the U.S. has stepped up attacks on ISIS's oil infrastructure, a vital source of revenue, with the goal of shutting it down completely. We also traveled to Kirkuk today, where ISIS has been pushed back in some spots. Just over there, that berm is the first line of defense, because just beyond that, all of those are ISIS-controlled villages. The Kurdish forces say they need more weapons. This is one of the terrible ironies of this war. All of these bullet-riddled Humvees are American Humvees, given to Iraqi security forces when we left, then stolen by ISIS. Kurdish forces have managed to get some of them back. And it's not just more American firepower the Kurds want. The Kurdish forces also said they would welcome more American troops. The defense secretary said the Pentagon is prepared for that possibility, but he's not talking about combat troops.
More airstrikes against targets of the so-called Islamic State, IS, have been taking place in Syria and Iraq. Analysts believe that by hitting IS on the ground, they can cut off supplies of money and munitions to Western Europe. Frank Gardner reports.
Lines in the sand, seen from the air. The Russian Air Force says this cockpit footage shows columns of oil tankers in Syria belonging to the so-called Islamic State. They've bombed them intensively, part of an international effort to target the group's supply lines and sources of finance. On the ground, IS has proved surprisingly resilient. This was an earlier recruiting video, but it is getting harder for recruits to join them from Europe. And as the airstrikes take their toll, IS is expanding its efforts to launch terrorist attacks around the world. New York City has been implicitly threatened in a recent IS video. It talked of suicide attacks there and in other Western cities, but the authorities say there's no evidence of an imminent attack.
I want to encourage all New Yorkers to continue to go about their business normally. It's important to note that there is no credible and specific threat against New York City.
And from Syria to the other side of the world, in Honduras, 6 Syrians have been arrested at the capital's airport with false Greek passports, 5 of them trying to get into the United States. No evidence yet of terrorism, but when a Greek consular official showed up, Reportedly, none of them could speak Greek.
They
had false documents, some passports that are going to be investigated. They were stolen in Greece and later they were detained. It's an investigation that was carried out through specialist intelligence officers as well as Interpol.
And in Paris, a massive investigation continues into last Friday's attacks. One key question still unanswered is whether the plotters planned the massacre using encrypted communications that French intelligence could not intercept. Frank Gardner, BBC News.
Taking a look at the weather, temperatures today will peak at 78 degrees Fahrenheit with a gentle breeze blowing from the north at 9 miles per hour. Today, expect partly cloudy to cloudy conditions with a good chance of some brief passing showers. Tonight, skies will be mostly fair and a low chance of showers. Seas are moderate with heights up to 6 feet. Small craft operators and sea bathers should therefore continue to exercise caution. And that brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Carla Barrage.